flashing lights of the patrol car threw frantic strobing patterns of red and blue across the walls of our living room, a chaotic disco ball announcing the utter failure of our mission's primary objective, to be utterly and completely boring. I glanced at the monitor displaying the feed from the discreet camera hidden in our porch light. 2 local sheriff's deputies were walking up our driveway, their expressions a mixture of professional annoyance and tactical caution. Behind them, standing on the perfect manicured lawn just beyond our property line, was Mrs. Covington, president of the Liberty Crossing Homeowners Association. Her arms were crossed and she wore a look of supreme, unassailable vindication. She had finally cornered us. "Local PD is at the door," I said in a low, even voice. The 3 other people in the room my family moved with a silent, practiced efficiency that would have terrified our neighbors had they been able to see it. Our living room, with its comfortable beige sofa, its tasteful throw pillows, and its gallery wall of smiling family photos of other agents' children. Borrowed for the occasion was a carefully constructed lie. A stage, a domestic tableau designed to project an aura of harmless, upper-middle-class normality. Behind the curtain, it was a fully operational, state-of-the-art, Tactical Operations Center for the United States Marshals Service. Leo, kill the main monitor. Feed. Switch all terminals to passive surveillance mode and wipe the session logs from the last hour. My wife Alina commanded quietly, her voice never rising above a calm murmur. Our 19-year-old son, Leo, a young man with a mop of unruly, blonde hair and the fastest fingers I'd ever seen on a keyboard, nodded without a word. The massive 8-inch television on the wall, which moments before had been displaying a live, cryptid satellite feed of a house 3 streets over, flickered and switched to a generic screensaver of a serene mountain landscape. The hum of the server rack hidden inside the custom-built media console seemed too quiet. "Maya, I'm on dishes," I said. Our 17-year-old daughter, Maya, a girl with preternaturally sharp eyes that missed nothing, was already up, gathering our coffee mugs and heading to the kitchen. Her movements were fluid and silent, a ghost in her own home, her task not just to appear domestic, but to secure the sensitive physical documents we had been reviewing on the dining room table. "Alina, you answered the door? Alienability is key," I continued, running the protocol we had drilled a dozen times. "I'll handle the conversation. Everyone remember who you are. We're the Miller family. I am Mark Miller, a mid-level software consultant who works from home. Alina is a freelance graphic designer. Leo and Maya are bright but unmotivated college students taking online classes. We are quiet. We are new here. We are very, very confused as to why the police are on our doorstep. Go." This was the life we had chosen, the one we had trained for. For the past 6 months, we had not been a family. We were a specialized deep cover team. Our mission, codenamed Operation Silent Harbor, was to conduct long-term close proximity surveillance on a man named Julian Croft, a seemingly legitimate tech CEO who the federal government had credible intelligence was acting as a high broker, selling stolen corporate and military technology to foreign powers. His house, a modern fortress of glass and steel, was 3 streets over in the heart of this obsessively regulated, upper-class suburban paradise. Our job was to be the perfectly average, slightly boring family next door, gathering the final, irrefutable evidence needed to build a case that would put him away for life. The greatest, most unpredictable threat to our multi-million-dollar federal operation had not been Croft's own sophisticated counter-surveillance measures, but the relentless, microscopic scrutiny of Mrs. Covington and her beloved homeowners association. From the moment we moved into our rented house, she had viewed us with a deep and abiding suspicion. We were a black box in her perfectly transparent community. We were too quiet. We didn't participate in the mandatory weekend block parties, a cardinal sin in Liberty Crossing. We politely declined invitations to her neighborhood watch meetings. We kept to ourselves. In her mind, our desire for privacy was not a personal preference. It was the surest sign of a criminal enterprise. Her campaign of harassment had been a war of 1,000 paper cuts, each one a potential compromise to our mission, The first official fine had been for failing to attend the annual HOA summer barbecue. We couldn't go, of course. To be photographed, to have our faces uploaded to the community's social media page, to engage in extended casual conversations with potential witnesses, was an unacceptable risk to our operational security. Ignoring the fine had been a direct order from our handler at the U.S. Attorney's Office. Then came a fine for our trash cans, which we had allegedly left out 10 minutes past the 6 p.m. deadline on a Tuesday. The truth was, we had been in the middle of a critical moment of surveillance, a handoff between Croft and an unknown contact in a black sedan, and the trash cans had been the last thing on our minds. The final, decisive battle had been over a birdhouse. To the casual observer, it was a simple, tasteful cedar birdhouse mounted on an old oak tree in our backyard. To us, it was a highly sophisticated solar-powered surveillance unit containing a long-range directional microphone and a high-definition infrared camera, all aimed directly at the back patio of Julian Croft's residence. It was a critical, federally approved piece of evidence-gathering equipment. To Mrs. Covington, who had spotted it during one of her daily perimeter walks with a pair of powerful binoculars. It was an unapproved architectural modification, and more ominously, a spy camera. The official notice of violation had arrived. Last week, a fine of $500 for the unauthorized installation of a non-compliant aviary structure. It of course ignored it. It ignored the second, more threatening notice as well. For Mrs. Covington, our silence was a confession. She had clearly decided that our strange, reclusive behavior, combined with what she believed was a hidden spy camera, was proof that we were the criminals, not the quiet, respectable CEO 3. Streets over, she'd called the police. Not to report a simple bylaw violation, but to report a suspicious family, possibly engaged in illegal surveillance, demanding that they investigate us. Alina opened the front door, a look of polite, neighborly concern artfully arranged on her face. "Good evening, officers. Is everything all right?" I saw the flashing lights. The two deputies were young, their faces etched with the awkwardness of their task. "Good evening, ma'am," the senior one began, his name tag reading Finch. "We received a call from your neighbor, Ms. Covington, about a disturbance." "A disturbance?" Lena asked, her voice a perfect symphony of gentle confusion. "But it's been completely quiet here all evening. The children are studying." Mrs. Covington pushed forward from behind them, her face a mask of righteous fury. "Don't play dumb with me. You know exactly what this is about. Officers, this family has been sent 3 separate notices and thousands of dollars in fines for their violations, and they have refused to comply. I believe they are engaged in illegal activities. That birdhouse in their backyard is a spy camera, I'm sure of it. They are a threat to this entire community." The deputies looked deeply uncomfortable. "Ma'am," Deputy Finch said too. "Mrs. Covington, HOA fines are a civil matter. I can't enforce them." He then turned back to us. However, the call did mention suspicious activity and a potential illegal surveillance device. "Given the nature of the complaint, we're going to need to see some identification from everyone currently in the house and ask a few questions." This was the moment we had drilled for. The protocol for a direct, unavoidable interaction with local law enforcement. We had to maintain our cover if possible, but the mission's integrity was paramount. I stepped forward, putting on my best harried but cooperative suburban dad face, of course. "Officer," I said, with a weary sigh, as if this was the most ridiculous imposition in the world. "This is all a preposterous misunderstanding with our overzealous HOA president. She seems to think that because we work from home, we must be criminals. Please, come in. I have nothing to hide." The two deputies stepped inside, their eyes scanning our perfectly normal, perfectly staged living room. Maya was now diligently wiping down the already gleaming kitchen counter, and Leo was sitting at the dining room table, a thick history textbook open before him, a look of bored teenage annoyance on his face. Everything was perfect. We were the Millers, a completely normal, completely boring family. But I knew, with a sinking feeling, that the fragile piece of our cover story and the integrity of our entire year-long investigation was about to be tested to its absolute limit. The two deputies stood in our entryway, their presence filling the small space. their radios crackling with the mundane chatter of a quiet suburban night. The air was thick with a tense, awkward silence. Mrs. Covington hovered in the open doorway. Behind them, a vulture, waiting to pick at the carcass of our privacy, her face a mask of smug anticipation, certain that her authority was about to be validated and our dark secrets exposed. "All right, folks," Deputy Finch said, pulling out a small notepad. "Let's just get this sorted out so we can all get back to our evenings. ID for everyone, please. Starting with you, sir." I nodded and handed him my driver's license. Alina did the same. Leo and Maya, playing their roles perfectly, shuffled over from their tasks with sighs of teenage exasperation and presented their own licenses. The deputies took them, their eyes moving back and forth from the photos to our faces. To them, we were just the Millers: Mark, Alina, Leo. A family of 4 with clean records and a valid address in Liberty. Crossing, Deputy Finch handed the licenses to his younger partner. "Run them," he said quietly, as the younger deputy walked back to the patrol car to check our names through the system. Mrs. Covington, unable to contain her impatience, pushed her way fully into the house. "This is a waste of time," she declared. "Their IDs will be clean. They're obviously professionals at whatever it is they're doing. You need to search the house. You need to see their so-called office. You need to find the spy. Equipment, the illegal computers, it's in the back, in that birdhouse. I demand you investigate." Deputy Finch turned to her, a clear flicker of annoyance in his eyes. "Ma'am, I do not have a warrant, and I do not have probable cause to search this family's home. A bylaw dispute over a birdhouse, and your personal suspicions do not meet? That standard? You need to calm down." "Shh, but they're suspicious," she insisted, her voice rising to a shrill pitch. "They are a threat to this community. You have to do something." It was at that moment that the younger deputy returned. From the car, a strange, confused, and deeply troubled look on his face. He held our licenses in his hand. "Sarge," he said to his partner, his voice a low, urgent whisper, "there's a flag. Big one." "What kind of flag?" Finch asked, his own posture straightening. "A federal marker." "Them, it's a level 1 priority flag. Just says, Active Federal Officer, Department of Justice. Do not detain, question, or otherwise interfere without direct supervisor consult. Contact U.S. Marshals Service, Northern District, for immediate verification." "Sarge, what does that even mean?" This was it. The first crack in our carefully constructed cover. The moment the local mundane world collided with our hidden, a far more dangerous one. Deputy Finch's entire demeanor shifted. The bored, slightly annoyed suburban cop was gone, replaced by a cautious, serious professional who had just stumbled into a situation far outside his pay grade. "It means," Alina said, her voice suddenly changing, losing its friendly, slightly flustered soccer mom tone and gaining a cold, hard professional edge that made even me stand up a little straighter, "that your complainant, Ms. Covington, has just made a grave error in judgment. Deputy, I think it would be wise for you to call your sergeant immediately." Before he could respond, his own radio crackled to life with a new, authoritative urgency. "Finch, this is Sergeant Davies. What the hell is going on over there at the Miller residence? I just got a call on my personal cell phone from the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Georgia. His office was just notified by the Marshals Service that 2 of my deputies are running the plates of a federal surveillance vehicle and detaining his undercover agents. Talk to me." Now, the color drained from both deputies' faces. They stared at us, their eyes wide with a mixture of awe and sheer, unadulterated terror. They were not just questioning a quiet family with a weird HOA problem. They were standing in the middle of an active and apparently very serious federal operation. "There. They're not the Millers," the younger deputy whispered, a statement of profound, horrified revelation. "No," I said, finally dropping the act, the weary suburban dad persona falling away. "We're not." One by one, we reached into our pockets, our movements slow and deliberate. We produced our real identification, our driver's licenses. We presented our official credentials, the heavy leather bifolds containing the golden Star of the United States Marshal Service. Mrs. Covington stared, her mouth agape, her carefully constructed narrative crumbling into dust around her. What? What is that? It's a fake. This is an elaborate trick. They're criminals. The final, definitive answer came not from us, but from the county sheriff himself, who had clearly been called by a very angry Sergeant Davies. His unmarked sedan came roaring up the street and screeched to a halt behind the patrol car. Miller, a man we had personally briefed when we first set up this operation 6 months ago, stormed into the house, his face a mask of cold, controlled fury. He didn't even look at his deputies. His eyes locked on a not-rembling Mrs. Covington. He began, his voice dangerously quiet. Do you have any idea what you have done tonight? I was just reporting a suspicious... She started to stammer. You have spent the last 6 months, the sheriff cut her off, his voice like rolling thunder, harassing a team of federal agents who are engaged in a long-term classified national security operation. Your petty obsessive complaints about their trash cans, their barbecue attendants, their birdhouses have been a constant documented nuisance, but tonight you have filed a false 911 report and have sent my deputies into the middle of their active operation, compromising their cover and potentially jeopardizing the entire investigation. You have, through your own breathtaking arrogance and stupidity, directly interfered with the work of the United States Marshals Service. Mrs. Covington's face had gone from pale to a ghostly, translucent white. She looked as if she were about to faint. This is no longer a civil matter of HOA fines, the sheriff continued, his voice relentless. You are now under investigation by my office, the FBI, and the U.S. Attorney's Office for felony obstruction of justice. I would advise you to get a very, very good lawyer. Now get off this property. She didn't need to be told twice. She turned and practically fled, a pathetic, defeated figure disappearing into the night. The sheriff turned to his 2 mortified deputies. You too, he crowed. My office. 600. And you'd better bring a notepad because this is going to be a long and very unpleasant debrief. He then looked at us, his expression softening into one of profound apology. Mark, Alina, I am so sorry. This was a catastrophic failure of local intelligence. Is the operation compromised? I looked over at Leo, who was already back at his keyboard, his eyes scanning the data feeds. Negative, Sheriff, Leo said without turning around. Target remains unaware. His own security systems are still focused on the commotion out. Front, we're clear, the sheriff nodded, a look of deep respect on his face. He and his deputies left, and the house was quiet again. The flashing lights were gone. The chaos had receded. The 4 of us stood in the living room, the mission's veneer of suburban normality shattered. We were not the Millers. We were a team that had just weathered a bizarre, unexpected storm. The absurdity of it all hit me then. We were prepared for assassins, for counter-surveillance, for armed confrontation, but we had never truly been prepared for the sheer, indomitable, and ultimately self-destructive power of a neighborhood Karen. Leo pointed to a monitor. Heads up, he said, his voice all business again. Target is on the move. And just like that, we were back to work, the petty tyrant of Liberty Crossing already fading from our minds as we refocused on the real, dangerous world we inhabited.